terrible thing, or there's going to be a lot of repression. But Orwell was able to see that even as it was happening, and he really wanted the world to see how bad this could be. All right? So, can anyone tell me why I've chosen the color red for this presentation?
Because
Yeah.
because the Russian Revolution, the flag is red.
Yeah, exactly. Of the Soviet Union, the flag would be red. It would be very representative of the whole ideal. Okay, so that's important for you to keep in mind, because it was also part of the symbolism. Okay, first thing I'd like you to understand is that anytime you talk about a revolution, revolution is like a fever, okay? How many revolutions have you seen in social studies class? Have you guys talked about maybe the French Revolution? The Industrial Revolution, the Scientific Revolution? Any revolution is like a fever, okay? When do you guys get the fever? At the beginning of a sickness, or when the sickness has already started? Exactly. So a revolution is the same way. A revolution is a solution to something that is really not working well, okay? Like a fever. You've been sick, you have some bacteria or a virus in your body. Your body first gets the bacteria and then has a fever to try to fight against it. So a revolution is like a fever in that sense. The causes for the revolution have been there for a while before the revolution actually happens. And so this is what happened with the Russian Revolution. Let's go back to the 1800s, okay? So almost 100 years before the actual revolution, you had the Russian Empire. An empire has what kind of a ruler? Who rules an empire? The emperor. In the case of Russia, it was the Tsar. Tsar is the Russian word for Caesar, like from the Roman Empire, sorry. And so this empire, by the 1800s, was a very old-fashioned empire. You guys have seen the Industrial Revolution. Well, in the 1800s, it had not gone to Russia. It would not get there until late in the 20th century. So they were way behind. There was a lot of repression. There was poverty. There was not a lot of education. And in general terms, if you live in Russia, is life easy for you? Why not? Exactly, because of the very long winters and because Russia and many of its land has permafrost. And so it was very hard conditions for the people there, especially for the poorer classes. If you were rich, you could live in your palace and life was good. But that was not the majority of the people. The majority of the people were very poor, and the government was not doing anything to help them. Okay? So it starts out like that. Are people going to be happy at this point? No. So even 100 years before, you already start seeing the cost of the poverty, the bad conditions. All right? Then things get really bad with the Tsar that came before Tsar Nicholas, his father. But that was Alexander. When Tsar Nicholas comes into power, not only will he join up all these conditions from before, but he decides to join World War I. So the Tsar takes the Russian Empire into the war. Now, what do you guys think happens? If I already have a poor country, I already have people that have really bad living conditions, you take them to war, and then what happens?
They lose.
Yeah, they may lose, there's going to be a lot of death, and again, you're going to make the economic situation even worse, okay? So, are people going to be even happier? No, so now it's getting worse. You guys see how the fever's about to rise? Okay? So by 1914, situations were really bad, and what started happening is that the Russian people, especially the workers, which were the poorer people, decided, we're going to try to change this system. We need a change. That's what revolution is, a really big change. So they put together these conditions. There was starvation, and then there was the idea of socialism. Have you guys ever heard of socialism? What's socialism? Yeah.
That everybody is equal.
That everyone is equal, okay? And socialism is the first step before communism, which is about creating a community where everyone's equal, right? So socialism means that you're socially all at the same level, all right? And so people that are poor, if you were born poor, does socialism appeal to you?
Yes.
Yes, because you've always been poor. You may not have enough to eat, maybe you don't have a good health system, maybe you don't have a good education. And now somebody says that there's a system where everyone would have enough of everything. You would not be rich, but you would have enough of everything. Would you like that?
Yes.
Yes, because you never had enough before. And so, plus you add to that the lack of technology. By 1916, a lot of these socialist ideas and ideas that would support the revolution would actually start happening. They come to a boiling point in 1917. 1917 is almost the end of World War I. Tsar Nicholas and his army have to be withdrawn from the war because they are starving to death. They cannot fight. Some of these soldiers in the winter of 1916 died not from being shot, but from what? Does anyone know?
Cool.
From the cold, from frostbite, okay, because it was so cold and they didn't even have boots, okay? Can you imagine that? Not even boots to fight with, much less weapons or anything else. And so the people are very, very upset at this point. And by 1917, these socialist ideas, plus the starvation, plus all the bad conditions, boil up to our fever, which is going to be the Bolshevik Revolution, okay? A Bolshevik is the name that they gave it, which was a socialist revolution, but the party was called the Bolshevik Revolution, which referred to a group of workers, a group of factory workers that had lived, a group that was in Moscow, and there was another one in St. Petersburg. So basically, this revolution was started by whom?
Lenin.
Yeah, by Lenin he would lead it, but what kind of people are a part of this revolution? The workers. So the Bolshevik, always relate Bolshevik to workers, okay? This is a worker revolution. So by 1917, now imagine you're the Tsar. You've just had to withdraw from World War I because you're losing, you've lost a lot of your army, you've lost money, and on top of that, the workers in your main cities of what little technology there is are now rising up against you. How do you feel if you're Tsar Nicholas? Yeah, you're not going to be happy at all. Power is about to be taken from you. So the revolution would eventually take power away from the Tsar and his family and give it to those that were part of the Bolshevik Revolution. It won't be easy, it won't be immediate. It will take about 4 years. It will go into a civil war where they will fight Bolsheviks or socialists versus the Democrats to take away power from the Tsar. The Tsar and his family will be assassinated a year from this. Okay, so not only will he abdicate, there's no longer any Tsar by 1918, but his whole family will be assassinated by the revolution. Now, if you're thinking about a socialist regime where everyone's equal, where everything is fair, is it fair to kill these people?
No.
No, and that's where people criticize socialism, that it doesn't always work out like it's supposed to work out. Okay? Are we clear about how the revolution more or less worked? Yep. Okay, so now let's look at the characters and in connection to that revolution that you guys see. So let's look at Lenin first. Vladimir Lenin, okay? Lenin will be enough for you guys to know him. And he is old major in animal farm. All right, so Lenin is the ideal of the revolution. Lenin is the first leader of the Bolshevik Party. He is well educated. He has read a lot about Marxism or socialism. And he exemplifies the ideas that Marx thought about when he wrote his book. Marx, along with another man named Engels, in the 19th century wrote a book called The Communist Manifesto. And in the Communist Manifesto, what do you think he wrote about? Communist ideas or socialist ideas. And so Marx explained that the power should be in the workers, okay? And let me explain a little bit about this. Marx is a writer, okay, a German writer in the 19th century, way before Lenin, okay? So, can you guys all stop writing for a minute and just look at this pyramid? This is a social pyramid anywhere in the world, okay? Where you have the Industrial Revolution, we have workers, we have rich class, poor class, etc., okay? Who's usually at the top?
The rich people.
The rich people. These are usually our rich people, right? Okay. Who's usually at the bottom? Middle class and our workers, right? Our poor people. So Marx said in his theory, he said, look at the history of the world. He's a historian as well. And he said, look at the history of the world. Everywhere throughout the history of the world, whether you have slaves or you have workers, which he called proletariats, that's his word for workers, whatever you have, it's always the same. How many people are here? Are there many up at the top? No, very few at the top. The majority on the bottom. And the majority do the bunch of the work. They do what keeps these people rich, right? So, when you take away these workers, what happens to the pyramid? It falls apart because there is no economy. So Marx said, if we really think about it, this is unfair because the majority are working for the minority. How should it be? The minority works for the majority? Maybe. Or there's no such thing as this. We have them all become workers. This seems fair. You want to eat? Work for it. You want an education? Work for it. This is what Marx thought up in his socialist revolution, or manifesto, sorry. The workers are all one class. Everyone becomes the same class. So you get what you need and you work what you need to work in order for everyone to rise up. Because he's believed and he said, look at it. Look at the Roman Empire, for example. The Roman Empire, one of the causes the Roman Empire failed is because it had no longer slaves. And so without slaves, you have no working class. The rich can't be rich anymore. So everyone should be the same. If everyone's the same, will everyone have the same amount of wealth?
No.
is. Will it be a lot?
No.
Not necessarily, not first, but you have to work for that. So Lenin read Marx's Communist Manifesto and he said, this is perfect. This is what we need in Russia, because in Russia, that was obvious. The Tsar and the nobility, which were very few people, had all the power, and everyone else was immensely poor. So Lenin said, this is what we have to do the revolution. He was very much a utopian. He was the one that really felt, this is the way we have to do this, all right? And so he believed that the power lies with the workers. And so you should give the power to the workers, therefore, okay? He also believed that eventually capitalism will fall, okay? The idea of the free market will make capitalism fall. And he said, because people are going to be greedy. The richer you are, what do you want to get? More. You want to get more money, you want to become richer. And he said, that's why capitalism eventually will fail. And he was partially right. In 1929, during the Great Depression, that's what happened. Capitalism failed. But before that, Lenin and Marx really thought a lot for this idea. So Old Major, if you think about it, he's kind of the idealist. He's always writing. He's always giving good ideas. Is he a good leader?